Welcome to Your Way Forward, a podcast where you can expect to find wisdom for uncertain times. Our podcast is hosted by me, Nicole Artabassi, along with my friends, spiritual teachers, and intuitive soul guides, Jenny Fairbank and Stephen Ross. Tune in each week as we unpack some of the hardest things that we're navigating in the world, from shared societal challenges to deeply personal life experiences. Our desire is that each soul who joins us experiences truth, love, and hope as they take their steps forward in life. Oh, and I should mention, we aren't just sharing our thoughts and opinions on here. Jenny and Stephen will be live channeling their spirit guides who will respond to your questions in our Ask the Guides minisodes. If you find our episodes helpful and worth sharing with a friend, feel free to spread the word. We're not here to gain a massive following, but rather to be a space for people to find guidance and light on their journey. Now, let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Your Way Forward. Wonderful to be with you, Jenny and Stephen. We have a wonderful, exciting session today. We talked about why things happen. Why do things happen? Often we hear people say, why do bad things happen to good people? And, often there's a lot of curiosity around the unexplainable, right? And, we talked a bit about the neutrality of not focusing on the good or the bad of what's happening, and that's really transformative. So I encourage you, if you've not heard that episode, please go back and listen, or you can listen after this one. But we have a part 2 today. We're going to be focusing a lot on the unexplainable miracles that take place and why they happen. Let's unpack it, right? There's a lot of curiosity around those things as well, and that is one of the most beautiful things we could ever talk about, I think. So. So I should also mention that I'm sitting in Jenny Fairbank's home right now. So she's upstairs, I'm downstairs. Stephen, we're missing you here in the Halle today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I was with you guys in person, but it'll have to be virtual for now.
Yes. Karen and I took a quick trip to get away from the island and come be with Jenny and her husband. And Stephen, you just got back from a lovely trip. If you want to say a couple things about it.
Yeah, I was in the homeland of Scotland and touching my roots and got to be in the really beautiful Highlands, in the dramatic scenes. It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
So happy.
And celebrate your birthday with your family.
Yes.
That was really sweet.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been a great time. So nourishing for the soul.
Yeah. It's so important to get out of your element, right? To have other experiences and to travel wherever it is, wherever you want to go. It just gives you more different perspective. It's really powerful.
I'm glad we're getting these little breaks away, and I'm glad that we're able through the ethers to still connect and still hold our podcast. So we were going to just dive right in, I guess, guys, if you're ready. Awesome.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is one of my favorites. I've experienced a lot myself, and I know you guys have as well. And I think any human being on this planet, if they open their eyes long enough, in my opinion, will see miracles as well. And so before we dive in, I think let's just start with what qualifies as a miracle. There's a lot of mysticism around this. Is it something supernatural? Is it something that can, ordinary moments, can they be miracles too? So Stephen, what are your thoughts? Or Jenny?
Jenny, you go first, man.
Oh, well, I personally feel like miracles are all around us. It's a miracle just to be alive, to see the way nature moves in such symbiosis. And if you just look at the planet itself and the way everything thrives and moves perfectly orchestrated for us to grow food and to live and to build homes. I mean, I'm looking at it from this wide place. I feel like miracles are everywhere. Mm-hmm. And if we do but just open our eyes and pay attention, we can see them and experience them very consciously. And miracles don't always have to look a certain way. I think it's all over our experience of life. So what is a miracle? I mean, that's hard because I think it's subjective in some ways. Wouldn't you Don't you say, because some people can see one thing as a miracle and another thing not as a
Yeah.
miracle. Someone else could see.
You know, as I'm listening
Right?
to you, Jenny, I think about the laws of nature. And ancient people, when there was a thunderstorm, thought it was a thunder god. And they saw it as a form of, miracle, superstition, and so on.
Sure.
My take on the study of this is that there are laws of nature we understand now to a point. We know why the thunderstorm's coming, and we know these things are, but there are hidden laws of nature. There's things happening that we don't understand still. We call them magic. And so there are things happening that we don't understand. And then I believe there's another category above that, which is something that, man, it's going to take me a while to unpack. But when you're in a state of high consciousness, that you can initiate miraculous events. So there are some things observed. There are some things that you can essentially, I don't want to say create, but bring forth.
Sure. So interesting. So you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that because of our limited, I guess you could use the word limited evolution, limited conscious, somewhat in our consciousness. So if we were fully in our purest state, we wouldn't consider these miracles. These are just the natural flow of life. These are the natural flow of laws of existence. Now, Jenny?
Yes. In the highest state of consciousness, we can see beyond all of the limitations of our senses. And we can see the way that energy is moving and why it's moving the way it is. We will eventually get there, all of us, to that heightened state of awareness where we are now and how it's we're evolving as a consciousness on this planet. We are awakening to more subtle energies than we ever have before in our known understanding of our history. But there are big cycles that take place where we go into more of a contractive state and more of an expansive state as a planet itself. And as a soul and a consciousness on our own individual spark goes through periods of growth, right? Contraction and expansion. And so we're looking at what are miracles and how does that look to the everyday person? And what does that mean? What is a miracle? How does a miracle show up? And I can imagine everyone listening and say, oh yeah, I've experienced a miracle with this or that, or we can call it synchronicities or coincidences, which I don't believe there are coincidences. I think everything is happening for us, for our opportunities for us to grow and expand in awareness, to learn lessons. And there are no accidents, which is hard for us when people are struggling through some really hard things. It's easy to not want to blame that there's something wrong or bad happening because it's difficult. And that's not always true, in my opinion.
Because we're constantly trying to explain why things happen, right? I mean, like, let's be honest, that's
we want to make meaning.
The human condition.
Yeah.
We want to make meaning. So would you say that if I were to ask you, do miracles happen to us? Do they happen through us? Or do they happen because of us? Or is it all of the above?
Maybe all of the above.
Yeah.
You know, guys, I think about birth and death, and they're miraculous events. Birth, we always say it's a miracle. And it is. But also those are veiled events. So you're not seeing the other side of the curtain of what's happening. And so I'll give you an example. A dear friend of mine who you all know from South Africa, his mom just passed away recently, and he asked me to psychically connect because she was lingering, which is very common. And we just kind of wanted to happen. But when I psychically connected, I saw, I hope he's okay with me saying this, attachment cords that still had to break, to leave. Do you see? There was a natural process of dying that was veiled from everyday sight. And so there's a timing, like for example, people, when they're dying, the family's gathered around for hours and the person's just sitting there. They all go for a cup of coffee and the person's off the second they leave the room. There's a hidden cause and effect. Yeah. It's a miraculous thing, and birth's the same too. There's a whole host of things happening, I think, on the other side, a different dimension, basically. So we're not seeing the whole picture. And so I don't know if I'm making sense, you guys, but it's a miraculous event.
You are. And what's interesting about what you just explained, you said that's hidden, the word hidden from us. And really, it's just because we have not come to our full conscious state that we can actually see all that's happening, correct? Or maybe there's things that I don't know, that we're not supposed to see. I don't know.
Maybe there's an idea when you're born that the past is veiled from you. You go down this big well, apparently, on the other side, and like they just shut it down. And that's done for a reason, because if you knew it was back there, you'd want to leave immediately. And so they're saying, like, there's certain things are veiled from us in this level of consciousness. You might still be evolved and have higher awareness, but in this density, there's certain things you can't see. But to me, there's cause and effect miracles happening because of stuff from another place that we're not seeing the cause.
I'm just thinking about how important it is that we don't, like, as you're talking about, Stephen, like we need to have that amnesia so that we can fully dive into this life 100% and live it as our purpose is, and are in this physical form, to experience everything we came here to experience. And we wouldn't if we knew everything that, on all sides of it. So I do feel like there are hidden messages in the miracles that we don't always have privy to the cause of things and the whys, but it comes back to trust and surrender, my two favorite words these days, of I know there's a reason deeper than I understand, and I have to trust that there's something here for me, and that I surrender to what is, because fighting against it only causes me suffering.
Right.
Yes, whatever comes, let it come, our teacher said.
Let it.
And that's easier said than done when it comes. It doesn't mean you're passive. To me, I very strongly feel that it's not passivity. It's a case of like a radical acceptance. Flow with it.
We're in this place, Karen and I, we're in the process of selling our home in Austin, and it's a unique economy right now, and a unique real estate market. And, we knew that going into moving to Hawaii, and, we're going to be looking for our home, and they're much more expensive in Maui because it's a very desirable place. And, we really need to sell our home before we can get into something else. And it's, we had several offers, and, for one reason or another, like they backed out or we didn't take it, the ones early on, getting the price right. And, you want to go into this place talking about meaning, like, oh, did we do this to cause that, to cause, this outcome? And then, I think there's this other element of what you're talking about regarding surrender. We know that we have taken the steps that we were supposed to take. We feel aligned with the spirit. We feel aligned with where we're walking. And we're still kind of clueless in some of it, to be honest with you. There's still, like, we need a permanent home, and we're not there yet. We're in that process where we're doing what we know to do. And so, to your point, that like things will happen as they are, and we don't understand the sequence of events. And, how dare us go out of fear and rush into something, that might be not the price point, not the home, not the area, because of fear, right? Versus being guided by trust and light and what we know is our aligned way to live. And when we do that, we have peace, even though we haven't seen, that outcome that we know we will get to. I don't know if that is relevant, but I guess I was just thinking as you were talking, there's a lot we don't know, I guess is what I'm trying to say sometimes in these things.
Of course, there's going to be a lot we don't know always, right? We don't know everything, and that's the beauty and the challenge of living here on this in the 3-dimensional plane of existence. And that when something happens in our lives that is a big event, a difficult experience, we always have that free will to choose how we want to look at it.
Right.
Do we want to be reactive and angry and combative around it and blame someone else and think, why me, and go into this spiral of heavy energy? That's a choice, and you can absolutely do that. you can also have that same experience and open your heart and say, okay, what's trying to happen here? This is intense. This isn't okay. But is it okay? There's something here. And I need to take the action I need to take, the steps. It is definitely not passive. It's very active without attachment, which is the challenge, right? It's, I'm going to put out the effort. This is what I need to fix this. I need to work on this. I need to deal with this. Can I do it with an open heart and putting out the effort? Because you get more clarity when you're centered and calm in the face of adversity. You have then clarity to even know what steps to take because you're not in a emotional reactive state where you can't think straight.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I feel really called to share that I just got hacked the other day. And like this was a perfect example of like the choice I had to freak out and like go into fear and worry that somebody has all of my personal information and they have complete control of my laptop and oh my goodness. And I could go into the doomsday catastrophic thinking, how is that going to help me? Would that have helped me? The miracle there is that you, Nicole, and your wife happened to be here at the time when all of this went down, and I really needed support because it is overwhelming to have this kind of experience. I'm no expert in at all. I'm like the worst in technology to some degree. And for you to say, oh my goodness, one of my best friends is a cybersecurity expert. We'll just call him and he'll help. That was a miracle.
Yeah.
And he was able, willing, had the time to take this on and to dive in and to help me get through this. That's a miracle. So this, what people would call like, a big event, a tragedy of sorts. You could look at it that way, or you could turn and pivot and say, wow, miracles are all around this situation.
Yeah.
I was supported. I was loved. I felt so much gratitude and love for this experience in the weirdest way because it worked out in the way that it did, where I had so much support.
Yeah. And if I can, bigger picture and listeners, like if you have ever experienced being hacked or your identity stolen or your banks or emails compromised, like it is a very violating thing, right? So I know we talk about like, oh, hackers this, hackers that, or someone might have hacked my Facebook account. We're talking about a world-class problem here, like what Jenny has walked through and is still securing and, writing. And thank God we have dear, dear, wonderful friends who, are world-class experts in handling this and are willing to help, because it is a huge thing that would send most people under their covers eating brownies till they collapse. Let's be honest. So it's a very scary thing. And what was interesting, and I just to point out sequence of events, because I think this is very important for why things happen the way they do. So this very week, Jenny had flights to come visit us in Maui. And if you listen to other episodes, we're staying at a dear friend's home who's out of country. And so we have plenty of space. It's wonderful. Well, last minute, they needed to come in town. And, they're a family that works a lot. And so we were like, you know what, let's let you have the home and we'll get out of town. But ironically, it was the very time that Jenny already had her tickets booked to come see us. And we were very bummed before the hacking even happened. Karen and I were so bummed because we were like, of all times, we wanted Jenny to come experience Maui with us. And even though her husband couldn't come, we were like, well, at least we'll get Jenny for a little bit. And we really just said we were going to have to cancel the trip. And so she did. She canceled the trip. And then we were like, we need to get out of the house. We can either go somewhere locally, or it was just this immediate thing. We're like, let's go see Jenny and Dave. And so Karen and I booked our tickets to come to California, where we are. And it just so happened that while we were here we've just been working remote, obviously, that this came up. And I was like, we realized this is resurfacing. And it just so happened that we happened to be here to support Jenny and also to find the friends. And so it's funny how you can look at one thing and we were so bummed. It looked like a tragedy, right? So I think there was a question I asked earlier, when you think something happens and you think it's a problem, you think it's, something negative for your life, and actually it ends up being a blessing for both of us, because my wife has been able to we both have been able just to rest here. We rest so much. We got away from the farm life, and so I think all that to say, like, the sequence of events happen, and if we step back and don't force something and allow for that flow, things work themselves out,
Mm.
right? So
Yes.
Jenny made a comment about getting caught in a spiral, pulled downward into emotions, and the spiral itself is what the karma is, and I want to define that as not punishment, but simple action reaction, like gravity.
right.
And so, when something happens of that magnitude, you are pulled down into something, and it hurts. It's hard. It's sad. It's scary. All of those emotions, like pulling down, like almost like a, how do you say, a eddy in the water pulls you right down to the bottom. Now, at that point, in the energy body, as I see it, I think certain parts of your energy are activated. And that begins now everything from a solution to a friendship, like it starts to activate. Something inside wants to protect us, to help us. And so it says, don't forget you have that friend, Nicole, and you text her. I'm being silly, but it'll start to activate things. Maybe it'll activate old lessons of trusting, being exposed, etc., etc. And now it's activating all this stuff. Now, when it activates, energy rises. So this would be the expression "rise to the occasion." So you're picking the best of what comes, and now the soul will give you that if you pay attention. But it's really hard. I couldn't be as composed as Jenny. I would have had a meltdown. That in full disclosure. But there's an ability of rising with the wave, rising to the occasion. And I think it's important now to really mess everyone's head. Let's imagine now that intelligence, which is non-terrestrial, as in non-cause and effect, linear, is not time-based. So imagine then that's coming precognized, a premonition, a thought, or just a thought. Now, all times and space, points in time and space, are universally rooted. So then a thought comes to do something, a person calls you, visits, and this thing is operating at some level that mind-boggling. Did you catch on that?
Stephen, do you think, yeah, absolutely. Stephen, do you think that and I think I know the answer to this, but Jenny and I had an interesting conversation this morning about breakfast. Do you think there's something much deeper that's occurring? Maybe Jenny and I didn't discuss. Actually, it's better you don't come because you have the situation that we need to show up for. Karen needs rest. Like, we didn't have that whole conversation, right? Things just kind of happened and we just went with it and surrendered to it and made choices accordingly. So, I tend, as I open my eyes more, and I say that from a spiritual lens, my spiritual eyes and also my physical, the more that I take a step back, we are in alignment. We are in attunement. I mean, over breakfast this morning, not over breakfast, I was sitting outside here on the porch and Jenny walked out and we knew we had the podcast this morning. And she's like, hey, do you want a little something to eat? And I was like, oh yeah, maybe we should have something. And immediately I was just like, and we haven't eaten peanut butter since I've been here. And I thought to myself, she has that yummy sourdough bread in there. Maybe we can just use some of that and put toast it with some peanut butter.
Awesome.
So I said, why don't we just use some of that bread and put some toast it with peanut butter? And she just kind of looked at me a little funny, like she didn't respond immediately. And I was like, is that okay? She's like, yeah. She's like, I was just debating whether I should say this out loud, but I had that exact thought. Like, we should just get some of that bread and put some peanut butter on it. Yeah. And I was just like, it never ceases to amaze me. And I want to always be amazed by the beauty of this. Not that I think it can't happen, but when we are in alignment, right? We are communicating. Right. There is a level of communication that isn't requiring words.
Yeah, I think there's something about people in collective shock and collective adversity that they synchronize. It's like a group mind or something. I don't understand it all, but there's some sort of group mind thing where you're buzzing in the same way. This potentially then also comes apart with if you're working through issues that might be the same issues that your siblings or parents or kids working through, that now you're getting like synchronistic with people who've died, and they're coming, there's there's a whole host of things we don't fully understand, but it seems like they show up for us in these big moments too. And they're the ones saying, peanut butter. That's quite common in my
It's
world.
wild. So, yeah.
Mhm.
So let me, go ahead, Jenny.
No, I couldn't help but think about something very physical and practical that women experience all the time that just proves the synchronicity of when women are together often, who are still young enough to go through their moon cycles, where they will sync, and they'll
Yep.
be having that same experience when they're around each other for a short period of time. That in of itself is a miracle, and it
It is.
blows women's minds when it happens, because it happens so frequently.
It's wild.
So I
mean,
just wanted to point to that, because it's yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, this is TMI. I'm sorry. This is where you get with having two women, Stephen. This is part of life. So you,
Cross my ears.
but you know what? We should no. This
I'm
is a part
joking.
of life. We shouldn't be ashamed of it, right?
No.
So women have menstruation. It's how you were born, and I hope you're okay with me sharing this, Jenny. But every time Jenny and I visit one another or in the same place, it's just a joke that one of us has to bring tampons, because no matter what, we'll be on the same cycle.
Mhm.
It's kind of just the weirdest thing, but it's it's energetic, and it's not with every woman either. It's kind of interesting,
Yeah.
but largely, yeah, when groups get together.
It is
Let
fascinating.
me ask a question. Yeah. Stephen's like, I have nothing to say to that.
Well, I have a comment on that. I have a comment on that.
Let me ask you this question. So, oh, you do?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So this is, and sorry to be like technical geeky after like talking about cycles, like I feel a little bit of a silly man, but let me try in this. It's fascinating to me, cycles tied into the actual moon cycle, and birth happening on full moons, crime happening on full moons. There's some influence or gravitational pull that seems to affect a lot of people. Some people not, I don't know why, but there's gravitational, so we're talking about why things happen. There's celestial movements, planetary movements, astrological movements, in this case, the moon, which affects the tide and water in us. And so I just think it's fascinating that there's these are causes also that a lot of people just don't take into consideration, but we know that the midwife will tell you, yeah, there's a lot of babies born on the full moon.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So this brings me to this question that I believe I know the answer to, but I'd love for us to unpack it. Do you think miracles are happening all the time, but most people are too distracted to notice them?
I do, absolutely. I mean, again, like, to me, you just look around and I don't know how you can't see them. I mean, you can label things all day long if you like it or don't like it, and all that on the surface, but really deep below, you look at how people, energies, bugs and animals and creatures all move about this planet, and it is symbiotic.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to imagine that, and there are people who do, and I know who you might be listening to this and say, yeah, I don't believe in any of this stuff. I think it's all just an accident and we're just here. And most likely, if you're listening to this, you probably don't believe that, because you wouldn't be listening to this, but I could be wrong.
Well, I'm going to say something intuitive, okay? And I don't know of this, but we are living in one big miracle. And to your point in the very beginning, this is a miracle generator. There's something happening. And I think, for me, I would like to always differentiate between small m miracle and capital M miracle, which we're talking like, Jesus, bread and wine, water to wine or whatever.
Yeah.
I want to be clear on that. But there's, I think, a lot of the everyday miracles, there's a perception shift. Your awareness changes and you see something you didn't see before. And it is a miracle because you didn't see it. I believe that's part of it. Like, I think about buying a new car and then you see the same kind of car everywhere. You didn't see it yesterday. There's perception shifts. and there's unknown, there's cause
So,
to understand. You know, there's layers of this. But it's a one
right.
big miracle
hmm
generator is my point.
Yeah.
So I fully agree. And I would love to ask this question for listeners that are out there. And, I've had friends tell me, when they'll watch my life or I watch someone else's life. And, I've had people say like, oh, I'm just unlucky, right? Like, I'm just unlucky. Everybody, I watch everybody else and they have these miracles, but that doesn't happen for me. I have quite a few people that have said that to me. And I'm just like, first of all, don't say that because words have so much power. But to answer the question, why do some people seem to experience constant synchronicities while others feel disconnected from them?
There are layers to that. I mean, it could
Sure.
be, I see it where a lot of times we don't understand or see the miracle until we look back at the experience. Because when we're in it, it's really difficult to see it. Even if it is, I mean, unless if it is really obvious, like the capital M miracle, as you're
Right.
saying, Stephen, right? Like massive major things that are like, whoa, out of this world kind of thing that don't happen to everybody on a regular basis or maybe at all in their life that are that obvious. But a lot of things, as we have we have this term that everybody talks about as, hindsight is 2020.
hmm
Now I can see why this happened. But what if we let go of the idea of this bad, like you're saying, miracle, I have bad luck, just bad luck. Because when you're in that mindset, then what your consciousness is going, what's happening in your
hmm
consciousness is then what happens externally.
Right.
It's a reflection of your consciousness, your external experience in many ways. So if we are saying that I have bad luck all the time and nothing good happens to me, you're perpetuating something that you actually don't want.
hmm
And not to say that things are not challenging for you, perhaps.
Sure.
It's how you choose to perceive them and deal with them and
hmm
which lens you're going to look through and how you're going to handle it and learn from it and experience something to the fullest, as hard as it might be and as devastating as it might be. When you get through that and you look back, I feel like there's going to be some understanding. Hopefully,
hmm
some
Oh
understanding for
yeah.
you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I have to say, I went through a really tragic situation, part of last year and the entire year before. And
Mhm.
it just was something that just couldn't get resolved. And it was very painful. And I just, in the midst of it, if you were to ask me, like, is this good for you? I would have been like, hell no, this is the worst thing that's happened to me since my accident. Like, and if I look back at it now to see the fruit of, and I'm not going to say that bad things have to happen for a good thing to happen. So that's maybe
Mhm.
another conversation. But what felt like a really horrific thing for me changed me on the inside. It presented a choice for me. And I made those choices to continue through it. And I look back and I'm like, that was one of the greatest miracles of my life.
Mm.
And people would probably be just flabbergasted to hear me say that. But it's not that sometimes walking through it, I guess, if you want to really define what a miracle is, so the little M's versus the big M's, I mean, I do think it's still a miracle. It was something that shaped me and has helped us. I guess, with that on piggybacking that story, I want to ask the question, do you think that does belief open the door for miracles? Or do you think that miracles create the belief?
A little bit of both. If I can try to answer the previous question and this one together and the
Yeah,
luck thing, because that's a perception thing as well. We're
please.
perceiving something and we
Yeah.
think I'm unlucky because nothing's going right. So my intuitive answer to your earlier question was alignment. And so we have a stored wisdom inside of us.
hmm
And when we align to that, it generates opportunity for a person. It generates things to be seen, to be actioned, to be snagged and fruit picked and taken when you see it. So
hmm
that's a big part of it, I think. And so when someone's not aligned and lost and stuck and all confused and all of it, what happens is they will get doors closed. They will see things come up against them, things get stuck. And then when they get trapped in that, it can feel unlucky. But once again, there's a hidden force that's generating that. You just can't see it. It just feels like, God, nothing goes right with this job. What the hell is it? And I say, what the hell, because it's in your lower centers and it creates a hell because you're not in your joy. And so this creates this unlucky feeling. When you are aligned.
And really, yeah. And no, that's what I was going to say. Is it's really that alignment factor, right, Stephen?
Yes.
Like
alignment with purpose, alignment with truth, alignment with your vulnerability. There's different aspects of it, but once you're aligned in those centers, then energy comes. The heavens open. Literally, the crown chakra sends you a ray of light, and so there's an element of alignment, I think, that's behind this. And if it's meant to be, as in it's stored in your chakras from somewhere, and it's time, then there's something that meets you in that moment. I think it's important. There's one other factor, you guys, which is attachment. And this is the hardest one of all. So we were taught a lot that beginner's luck is a real thing, but it's not what you think it is. It's the non-coveting of results. And so maybe we talked about this before, I think, but we play the card game just for the heck of it and don't try to win, and then you win first time. And so this is based on non-attachment principles. So again, it's a miracle or you're lucky, but it's the way you just kind of like go through it, soar into it, just be centered in it. So I believe these are factors that somehow affect the pool of this.
Explain that. Let's talk about the card game for everybody who likes these practical. You are the king of analogies, which I appreciate so much for my brain. Thank you, Stephen.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're playing a card game. I've never played a certain game, and we're sitting down. Everybody else are these like genius level card players. I've never played the game. I sit down and I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I kind of know what I'm doing. Play the game. I win the whole pot. I'm a millionaire now, right? What? I'm just going to throw that in there. While we're speaking things, what are you saying exactly? What happened that I didn't share? What happened under the surface?
I'm going to speak intuitively to answer it. The ego creates a warped reality, a bubble of sorts that warps itself around a person. And so they're now not able to connect with the higher consciousness. They cut off from everyone in the synchronistic group. They compete. They create competition, separation, self-interest, and you create a bubble around you, and you cut yourself off to everybody else. This is the opposite of
these are the other people. These are the other people at the table, not me. Okay,
it's the opposite. It's the inverse of the peanut butter story. Now there's no synchronistic energy field you're part of. But now if you operate in a way where you're just open to it, it doesn't matter, you expect to lose. There's all kinds of the underdog and all that. And you're open, the warp bubble hasn't formed. And you have a time, space, initiative, something that will just like pull the right hand.
Wow.
There's a wisdom that you're getting.
Yeah. That speaks so loudly to me. I watched this in the corporate environment, and I know we talk about this a lot, but, I was in sales and I had teams, like sometimes group of 10, and, you have the old legacy reps in there that are making tons of money and own the process. And then you have these newbies come in and they just like are landing deals in there, and they're all shaking in their boots to the new guy and they don't even know what they're doing. It feels like they just happened and accidentally landed that incredible deal. And if you watch them, a lot of times those newer people are very open and hungry, and you're just like, no, I want to learn from you. Like, I'm not competing against you. I'm just, like, we'll share the deal. Right. And it's an energy. And like, now that I've been focusing on that and my patterns and in life, I can see now looking in hindsight, like, oh yeah, that person was really successful, from the get, because they were just open and humble. And man, you're so right. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Stephen.
That's team player,
really...
you see? Everyone says, be a team player. And otherwise they're like, no, I've got to get my bonus. And so that's what they're going to do. But this is a point I brought up before. I think somewhere altruistic groups they evolve faster than
Oh
selfish
yeah.
groups.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so this is why altruism
Mhm.
is preached for thousands of years, but there's a coherent energy field that changes. And so that's what kind of came to me, you guys. And this idea, they call it asteya in Sanskrit, of non-coveting.
Okay.
So you act once, as soon as
Yeah.
you covet, you block the
Yep.
universe
Yep.
life. You just block it.
Yep.
And it's so powerful because, and I'll get off my soapbox here, but I also think about the corporate strategies that we were taught by leadership, and they do not. I mean, you talk about being a team player. Screw that. They're not teaching that. They're teaching
Game of
they
Thrones.
have you compete against each other. Yeah, the opposite. They're like, Susie got 3 and you have 1. What are you going to do to get to 4? Like they actually position you against each other, and you
Yeah.
wonder why the low
Mm.
vibration a lot of times in these corporate environments, and how it just starts to chisel away at your being, right?
Mhm.
It's really icky. So we
Chisel away
won't
at your
live
being.
there, but
Listen to what she just said. Chisel away at your being. That is
Mhm.
code for it erodes the life
Yeah.
force within you and your soul. And so that's a lesson,
Yeah.
I think, for every company now. Like that dog eat dog mentality is the
Mhm.
dinosaur now. That's what wants to die. And so
Yeah.
it's how do we find solutions for people to step into this in different ways? And they'll be
Yeah.
lucky. They'll have
Right. Yeah, of
synchronicity, they'll have
course.
chances, it'll be a miracle. I did a
Yeah.
reading
Yeah.
for this 2 people that had this nonprofit today to do with civics and civic engagement and to get past the
Mm.
awful culture war of people at each other. It was beautiful vision, but they were utterly shocked at how fast it took off. And in their reading, it was like,
Mhm.
you're on the ark now, and they're going through the storm, and the angels are protecting you. Like, this is a divine mission, and this thing has
Mhm.
got serious momentum. There's, again, this
Mhm.
force comes
Yeah.
when you act in this way, and it's timing, and it's meant to be.
I I love that. You have answered quite a lot of questions already, so I do have a couple that I wanted to throw at you
Mhm.
guys, both of you. One of the things that I think is really powerful is, why do breakthroughs often happen right after periods of uncertainty, grief, or collapse? We see that happen a lot, right? Like someone's going through the dark night of the soul, something seems so horrific. And then you see this like bloom of this blossom miracle that just comes out, and you're like, oh my goodness. Like I think I can say that for my life in several areas. But let's talk a little bit about that. Like, why do we often see, the timing around these miracles?
Go ahead, Stephen. I know this is completely like his. You speak to this really well. Go ahead.
Well, back to evolution again, there's a force of nature that's
Hmm.
trying to get us to grow, evolve, heal, awaken. And it's like the tide, it comes in, it comes out. And sometimes you ride the wave like the surfer, and other times you're pulled away from what would be
Hmm.
the beach of happiness. And so that's important context to understand. So these natural forces initiate a sequence of events, which is known often as a transition, sometimes a shock to the system, and it initiates things. And
Hmm.
this cycle basically is sort of like a fall, winter, spring, where things end sequence. And so you get these in what's called initiation and like a short, sharp shock.
Hmm.
Let's say a layoff, because that's a common one. And it'll throw people for a loop. They'll go down a spiral and get into all kinds of stuff. And like you're pulled down to the root of your being. And when you're
Hmm.
at the root of your being, you'll do some soul searching, touch rock bottom. Hopefully, I think that's positive actually. Touch rock bottom,
Hmm.
and now you got new momentum. So that's my very quick sketch. Jenny, I don't know how you want to add to that.
Yeah, I love it. I was thinking about like jumping into like a swimming pool or some kind of body of water where you touch the bottom and then you get propelled up, and
Mm.
because you have that momentum is, and there's energy taking you upward, and then an opening happens for us.
Yeah.
We're talking about like why things happen, but also like who are we becoming after the fact of why things
Mm.
happen? Like, who are we because they happened?
Oh. Hmm.
When you think about some big experiences, Anybody who's listening, think about a big experience you had that was really difficult, that felt really heavy, and you maybe hit rock bottom. Who were you on the other side of that experience? As
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
were talking to me, Nicole, earlier, right, about this.
Mhm.
Like, if that didn't happen, whatever this experience, I
Mhm.
wouldn't be who I am today. It made me stronger. It made me wiser. It made me think differently. It made me act
Mhm.
differently in a positive way.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important to look at, I think, our lives as a whole and look back and see when those challenges arose, how did I face them? How did I deal? Who am I now because of them?
Mhm.
And I see so much of this as so many people, and when you go through this and talk about it, there's so much gratitude
Mhm.
for that
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff because it does
Yeah.
awaken us in certain ways
Mhm.
and provide more insight and understanding and goodness. It's unfortunate. I feel like sometimes that we have to go through these things to feel it, but pain can help us to grow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I so see this, and it begs kind of the question for me: was it necessary? Did I have to go through that to get to the place where I am today, and hopefully that I'll continue becoming, or was it that I didn't necessarily have to go through those things? There was other ways for me to wake up, but it was almost like, I think a lot of us, we can identify with, like, I had to be, I mean, different points in our lives where we were like, oh yeah, I had to be stripped down of everything to the core, right? Everything stripped away for me to return to self and to rebuild. And I guess my question is, do we have to go through those tragedies and the stripping process to get to the place where we are healthy, aligned, and growing and continuing? I don't know. I mean, I'm curious what you guys
Oh
think
man,
about that.
I want to answer
That's a
this.
heavy one.
No, I got you. I'm with you on it. It's
Yeah.
quite a long answer, but I'll try to shape
Yeah.
it as
We
best
have
I
time.
can. This is what's challenging because this has been a philosophical debate for a long time of
Sure.
random things happening and we just make
Yep.
meaning of it. Then there's all these philosophical debates. So the image that sticks with me today is we're in like an ocean, a planetary ocean, let's imagine, of awareness, and we are waves on the ocean. And there are tides coming in and out, there's turbulence, there's windstorms, and each wave handles it differently. So I feel really compelled to share that with you guys, that image, because it's like we got to be careful here that stuff is happening on some level that's outside what we think of. Is it happening to me or not? It's kind of mind bending. So each
You're saying
person,
things just happen as it is, despite, like, we make it very, as my mom says, navel gazing. It's all about us, but really it's just happening across the board and we're a part of the greater.
there's something like that. Yeah, it's
We're
kind of like a
okay.
combination almost. I think the mind, we have got something programmed in us to make meaning. Humans are meaning making
Meaning
machines.
makers.
That's part of it. There's also like global forces, evolutionary forces,
Mhm.
shifts in consciousness. This is so complex and we can't really play God as such. Like stuff happened to the most enlightened masters. They had very difficult lives. It's the
Mhm.
ego that makes it about me. They would just be in
Yeah.
that flow. So there's that argument too. But I want to imagine from like these heavy things happening that human beings accumulate a lot of energy inside of them over the years. They don't follow through in their dreams, their hopes, they don't speak up their
Mhm.
emotions, etc., etc. I mean, there's resentments are compacted inside, and there seems to be some mechanism that pulls the proverbial rug out, and the ego that was it's now a tower on sand, and it comes down, and
Mhm.
that ego comes down and is reformed. And there seems to be, I think there's some sort of process that does that. And that's
Mhm.
frightening. So those terrible moments are dark nights, or the light goes out, you're trapped in the underworld, you've been pulled down to your root chakra, lights go out,
Mhm.
and you got to walk through that. And it's very hard. I don't know if I can do it myself. And so when you come back out, you're reshaped and reformed in some way.
Yeah.
And it's when you're on the other side that the hell is over. It feels like forever when you're in it, but it's not. But when the hell's over, you're a different person,
Mhm.
literally,
Mhm.
Yeah.
not
I, I,
figuratively.
rem- I remember growing up in the Christian church that it was constantly said, and I don't even know how I feel about this anymore, but I'm going to put it out here. People would say,
we get really hung up on what's happening, and beyond everything, God is ferociously cares about getting to your heart beyond everything else.
Yeah.
So there may be stuff going on all around you, and we get very fixated on those happenings. But it's almost like, and I'm not saying God causes events to happening, and God's a part of us, but I do think it's like, at what all costs, God is concerned about your heart,
Yeah.
your spirit, right? And I think, and I'm not saying that. Yeah, I don't know why I felt the need to
No, I
share
see
that.
it as there's a differentiation here between Father Spirit, Mother Spirit, and I
Sure.
think there's two different things going on. Maybe like karma
Yeah.
is seen as
Okay.
like
Yeah.
an entity is ruling over you with this judge. Actually, no, it's like gravity.
No.
We think it's
Yeah.
pulling,
Right.
but we
Right.
think it's God. I think there's something like that happening. I've got this crazy
Yeah.
theory that
Okay.
there's a karmic sphere, kind of like the atmosphere, but there's a karmic sphere, and it's just like pushing and pulling all over the place. That's my crazy
Yeah.
theory. But there's another aspect then, is like there's experiences happen to us and through us. We're in that experience, it churns us, and there's a lot of obstacles, but if you can come through it, you're closer to your true self, closer to God, closer to your joy and your peace
Yeah.
at the end of it. And I think that's really important. Look at astrologer and you can see when the big waves are going to hit.
Yeah, they're very telling. Astrology is an amazing gift we have to be able to understand ourselves and our connection with all that is from that science. It's a really interesting science. Yeah, it's fascinating to see how it all is connected and how the planets lined up. Create things happening. There's so much happening we don't know and we don't see. It's the fact of, will you say, you're saying, well, the question you asked, Nick, was, do we have to suffer to experience this? Is that what did
Essentially,
you?
yeah. Essentially, do you have to go through those things, to receive that miracle, or I guess I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's always. Not everyone goes through tragedy. Not everyone goes through the dark night of the soul. I mean, every soul's different in this life, and what our teachers would say is, you learn through suffering or insight. You can learn through suffering. You can learn through insight.
Oh, I like that.
We all have karmic patterns. We all have things we need to learn and dissolve in our consciousness. And when we are deep in our inner practices and we're doing our inner work, I feel like we can learn those lessons without an external experience that is going to be
Can I have that one? I'm going to sign up for that one. I'll take more insight. Put it out in the ethers. I'll take more insight over suffering. I will take this next lot in life, more insight.
Yeah.
No, I think that hits.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you're still not going to suffer.
No,
I mean, but I feel like it definitely helps because a lot of people will just say, well, it's just my karma. Well,
right.
Kind of like not want to put out the energy to no. You actually can change that by your energy, by what the action you take and the work you do within yourself. So that it's kind of like, I think about it as like somebody who's getting ready to be a fighter in a ring, like a boxer.
Yeah.
And you have to train and you have to get really strong to be able to receive the punches that are coming at you. So you don't fall over. And I feel like we are training our our energy field and our energy body to receive the punches that are going to come that aren't going to knock us down because we're doing our inner work to be able to receive that energy, to make it neutral, because karma is the cause and effect. What you put out in whatever lifetime it was, it has to come back to neutralize. And so it can come back at you instead of like, your karma to get your arm chopped off, you just cut your finger because you're, able to receive that without, have the experience without something major because you've grown a lot internally.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to just speak to my own, like, I'm just thinking of recent miracles. I've seen a lot of incredible miracles in my life. I mean, down to being in Mozambique and way out in the bush with one big pot of beans and rice and crowds of people crowding around me. And I would look at our leader and be like, this is going to run out. Like, we do not have enough here. And she just said, well, just keep filling. God's good. Just keep filling the plates. And sure enough, the amount of food in this bowl never like lessened. And it was like a modern day miracle, like they talked about in the Bible, these crazy miracles Jesus would do. And it was like, no, I saw that one with my own eyes. I wanted to say even more recently, talking about, do we have to go through suffering? Like, I guess my thought is, do miracles only occur on the heels of suffering, right? Do we have to go through that to receive the miracle? And I just, I can see things happen, like the tragedy I went through did on the out, it became, I look back as a wonderful miracle in my life, a gift. I can also say we just were passing through Maui, visited a friend who we weren't even that close to with another friend. And we mentioned we happened to be wanting to move back to Hawaii. And she's like, oh, great. We've got a 6,000 square foot home on 4.5 acres and everything you need and more. Would you like to have it for free for almost a year? That is a miracle. Like, it truly is. And I think there are moments where we were aligned and just trusting and saying, so maybe, I don't know if this makes sense. Did we open the door for that miracle by stepping through certain doors of trust and surrender? Like, hey, we're going to go through, even verbally saying this is what our desire is, that was the last thing. We didn't even know they needed to go out of town for a year. Like, there was no, nothing that would have given us a layup here. It was just catching up. And that was just gifted upon us, and so I think there are those moments. And I want to bring that back up because at the very beginning, Stephen, you mentioned little M, big M miracles, right? There's these wild things you see. So I'd love to just, because we are talking about miracles, I know we've kind of gone in some different directions of how miracles affect us, how we receive them, how we block them maybe. But if you I know we don't have a ton of time, but if you can kind of just share what you see, those like everyday miracles that we haven't been opening our eyes to that are there, because I want to encourage every listener today, like whether they're driving to their job, whether they're getting off work, whether just in their home making dinner, maybe feeling, some kind of way, like I want them to see those things. Like, how do we understand and perceive these two different kinds of miracles maybe?
My observation here is that human beings, because they are at their essence at one with the creator, the creative force of the universe and cosmos, human beings, when they're in alignment, have the ability to bend reality to their favor. That's what I think.
We do.
And when you're at your root, taken down to your very knees, in the deepest place, and you scream out to God, whoever, even though you don't believe it outwardly, there's a mechanism that opens something, and something comes to our aid. And that something might be the coincidence, opportunity, the person's got the house available, etc., etc. And it's just, talk about a miracle. It's utterly mind-boggling, miraculous thing that does this, and it comes to us in those moments. And when your ship hits the rocks, it comes. If you need a lighthouse, it appears, and so on. That's
Wow.
It's extraordinary. Know the truth.
It
And the
is. I'm
truth will
just
set
I'm
you
just
free.
taking this in like a drink of water.
Yeah. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I believe that's a spiritual formula, like mathematics, E equals mc squared. If you're aligned in that truth and you actually say it, that opens something in your throat chakra, and there's an activation and intuition comes. That's where the gifts are intuitions. They're landing in your consciousness bubble. They're pinging back because you asked. Rumi said, like, the message you receive, it's a return message. Your heart asked for something. And the deeper that's aligned, the more this thing pings back for you. There's some gift we get. It's pretty cool. And I even think that goes further to people who have got businesses and things, whereby when they're truly aligned in their purpose, and they don't attach too hard to results, that I believe they can change the world. And
So you're
As
saying,
individuals.
yeah, you have the ability to bend reality.
Mm-hmm.
And would you say, not to be so black and white here, but that is big M or little m? Like, or am I missing the point here?
I think it's big M,
Big M.
because
Yeah.
it's
These
not just like I
massive.
didn't see something that's a miracle of nature. That's a lovely
Okay.
little miracle, but this is like nature changed on my behalf.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something was
So
penetrated
sure.
very deeply, and it's touched in. Now this brings us to another very fascinating subject, because there's miracles of like I'm on my knees and I beg for something, or I'm in my truth and I do
Yeah.
it and I start my little company, whatever. There's all these kind of ones, but
Yeah.
there's another one here which is alignment with divine will.
That's the biggest thing.
Say more about that.
Yeah.
Jenny, I know you love this subject, but
No, I mean, well, being aligned with divine will it's not easy because that's saying your ego is stepping out of the way of trying to control something, because we get into it, an idea that it needs to look a certain way, and we have an attachment to an outcome, and that can block the will of the divine
Mm-hmm.
to a degree.
Yeah.
I mean, God's will is, to me, going to come through anyway to it, because we don't have the control we think we do. But the problem is we can block it and push that energy out
Mm-hmm.
because we are focused on it to be a certain thing. So it's a very common saying I use is this or something greater. Like, this is what I'd like to experience. This is my vision for the healing sanctuary. We were willing to just get a yurt because that's what our budget allowed at the very best. And then a miracle came and we got gifted enough to build a very real temple that was it's a miracle.
Yeah.
And to me, that was God's will.
Yeah.
It's God's will that this is supposed to be here for people, for others. And so the block, we can get in our own way, as we say this a lot. Like, there's these sayings that are commonplace, have real deep meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of your way.
Yeah.
We tend to know that we're in our way often. But we don't know how to get out of the way, because we feel like we have to control it, or if we don't control it, it's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
But it's that openness and that trust, and even an attunement with the divine, with God, with when you pray, when you trust that there are greater realities at play that are helping us and guiding us to receive and to experience what we're here to receive and experience. Then it's this symbiosis with divine, with Mother, Father, God, whatever, to then know that, okay, I'm in tune with this greater reality because I'm calm and centered, and I trust, and I know that I'm here for a purpose. Like, all of that is the way to go. But when you come out of your center and you're filled with emotionality and worry and control, you're blocking the flow.
Yeah.
And you're throwing debris in front of yourself to then have the experience that you're actually here to have.
Yeah.
Right. Or miracles to receive or experience. Or, I mean, I'm thinking of two stories right now, but at a very simple analogy, I'm actually picturing this certain grocery store in Hawaii, and I'm thinking, sometimes when you're really thirsty, let's say there's a soda sitting there, or even a Gatorade full of sugar, not that I'm saying it's bad, but obviously it's different than water. And it's like, okay, I know that I'm thirsty and I want to reach for one of those for this immediate gratification. And that would be me making the decision versus stepping into divine will. That's actually, I need water. Right. And so it's like, yeah, I can reach for one thing, but if I step into the divine will, I'm going to have greater
Clarity.
greater hydration or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I also think about back in the day when I was working, I used to work in, as you both know, in anti-human trafficking work, and it was quite dangerous at times. There was very scary moments that no mother would want their 25-year-old daughter being a part of, massive federal law enforcement sting operations. And I remember I was talking to my mother and I would tell her some stories and then she would tell me like, I just don't want to know. I just don't want to know. She's like, and she would always tell me like, be safe. I just need you to, be wise, be safe. And I remember stopping her one day and I said, Mom, the safest place I can be is in the divine will of God.
Mm-hmm.
And I could, if I am out here on the street in the middle of the night, surrounded by SWAT teams or, high crimes detectives and horrific criminals or, whatever we were going through, if that is the divine will for me to be there, I'm safer there than in my bed sleeping. And sometimes I think, and I guess I'm just trying to paint a picture that like following that divine will can throw us for what we perceive as the logical, safe, right thing that maybe our ego's attached to or feels good,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if that makes sense or relevant,
It's a
but
beautiful
it
story.
just came to mind.
There's different ways when people are in divine will, they're responding to a calling of something from a greater issue. The time has come for or an inventor who's just, it seems to be the right time. These things seem to land with a timing of their own, I find. And then, so there's a certain momentum that carries you through that, I think. There's one example seems to come up for me of Susan B. Anthony. I read a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
her work,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
there's a certain point where she was speaking where the thing she's speaking about becomes more than little her. And there's a thing that lots of gurus do where they speak about themselves in the third person, almost like jumped out from their regular mind. And there's something bigger, a calling that comes through them that's irrational even at times. It goes against the grain. And so the people seem to tap into something bigger. Nelson Mandela talked about it too. He said there seemed to be a force that wanted us to succeed. God, there's a great quote.
There is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
There is.
Oh my goodness, my goodness. Well, if someone, I know we're coming up on time here and we could, I mean, gosh, talking about miracles opens the door for so much exploration, right? About our existence and about how we relate to, the physical world and the world we don't see with our eyes, right? And how we interact with that and others. And, I'd kind of, if someone's listening feels disconnected from hope right now, what would you want them to know about miracles?
I mean, it's so, to me, I keep going back to looking at the natural world. Because it's all around us everywhere. And even if you're feeling if you're feeling despair, if you're feeling really low, if you're looking at the world and saying, oh my goodness, it's falling apart, take a moment to go outside and just look at the trees and listen to the birds and watch the squirrels and go into yourself and go into a place of, if you can, even the smallest thing of gratitude, the smallest way, you're breathing, hopefully you're healthy, your feet are working, you have all of your parts and pieces. Like, you want to look at what is good, because it changes the way that your perspective, if you look at even the smallest things that are good and not go into the hardest things that are going wrong, the things that are going, what we would think are going wrong. But there is a much bigger, greater reality at play. The divine will is moving through every atom of creation. And if we can trust that there is something greater happening here, and that we are exactly where we need to be as a soul, as an individual, and we are experiencing what we need to help us awaken, then it changes the way you experience life. And so hope is so important. Don't give up hope. that things are going to change, and they're going to get better,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to shift. Not everything changes. Nothing
Mhm.
stays the same. Something always happens, as my favorite teacher says. Something always happens.
This is true.
We can
It's
name it and
wonderful.
claim it all we want it
Right.
to be, but something always happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I love that
Such
point,
wisdom.
Jenny. It's a beautiful
Thank
one.
you.
And I want to reiterate this, the ocean image and the tide coming in and out. We are subject to natural forces. And because of duality and gravity and ups and downs, things pull us up and down. If you're on a down pool right now, it will feel hopeless and you're caught by something against your will. And so there are teachings and practices and ways to help you manage that, yoga just being a simple one. And then the
Yeah.
tide turns, to Jenny's point, the tide will turn back again. It has to. We're subject to these laws. It has to. But again, there are teachings for every part of the
Yeah.
cycle, I think is important. And at some point, I would say for those trapped in the negative part of this is to honor your pain, to honor yourself, the pain, the disappointment, and honor it and hold it, because it's part of life. Don't bypass it. Don't push
Yeah.
it down. Don't suppress it. Honor it. Talk to people, and so on. And then, if we can move through gratitude in a way and see what we have as blessings in life and just catch one, we'll catch a new
Yeah.
tide. And from there, you develop what's called active hope, a vision
Yeah.
that something more is possible. So if you have vision and
That's right.
gratitude, you can see it. Active hope will return. It's a different kind of hope.
Yeah. I
Different
love
kind.
that. Thank you. Oh, the wisdom. And I'm going to jump in here too. I think what I would want every listener to know on this podcast, this episode, is that, because I've been in both camps, I've never thought I was unlucky. Let's back up. That's actually not true. I'm not going to say that. But I do remember times when I felt hopeless. And I think one of the things that I encourage anybody I know is to expect miracles, right? Expect that there is this divine force out here that loves you, that there is this greater, that you are deserving, that you um, are meant to receive love and light, and hope is yours. And so I think for anybody, that's maybe struggling with their breakthrough or their miracle, um, to expect it, to just know that there is miracle, there is a miracle, there are many miracles for us to receive and to be a part of. And so just that perception of shifting and the gratefulness opens the door for that. It unlocks it almost, right? Being grateful for what's around you. Um, and putting your energy there. And sometimes you don't, I think you want to be careful, and this is, much deeper conversation, but we've talked about, really attaching to outcome. So maybe I think what I'm talking about is more just generally, like, I know we're called to Hawaii and we're going to be taken care of. I know that we're going to have miracles. I know we're going to have a home, whether it's teeny tiny or massive, which I hope it's not massive, but we're going to have that place. Now, do I know how that's going to happen? And am I attaching to how that miracle needs to take place? No. But I know there's one for us, right? And we are in that alignment. And so that's what I encourage people, is to just don't even go down that, like, I'm unlucky, it's not for me, and watching and comparing to others, because that's a very dangerous and toxic place to live in, and will take you longer to get to that alignment. And I guess if we can leave, our listeners today with any last words of whether it's being receptive to meaningful, positive change in their life, or something else. Any final words today, Jenny and Stephen, both, whoever wants to go first?
I was thinking about the famous quote that Albert Einstein said. There are only two ways to live your life. One is though everything is a miracle, and the other is though nothing is a miracle.
Wow.
And I choose that everything's a miracle.
Yeah.
And I want you all to choose that too.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, you are unconditionally loved, unconditionally supported. And even though it might look really rough and feel really hard, there's a deeper meaning to it. And you will come out of the darkness and into the light, because that's your essence.
Beautiful. Yeah. On that note, there is a force of nature, something beyond, that is actively conspires to your desire, to your will. If you ask for it, it begins to bend and shape itself to you. So ask clearly for what you want. And the truth is, you're unhappy, just say it. When that comes out, this other force comes in to meet you. So don't underestimate prayer, radical truth, openness, and so on, and use it. And use it, because it's a force of nature, just like gravity. It comes. It comes, and we have that ability as humans, I think. So don't forget that you're not alone.
Man, thank you, Stephen. We forget the divine beings that we are sometimes, don't we? We think that we're just this little nothingness, little rock in the midst, and we are just but a piece, but we are loved. And there is a whole energy force conspiring for our benefit. And I live on that side too, Jenny. I expect that miracles. So Albert Einstein's brilliant, man, clearly. Well, I hope our dear friends who are listening, I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. And if you can't tell, we can talk about some of this for hours upon end. Any one of these, we can go down a branch and a trail. And so thank you for joining us today. And thank you for being a part of our life. Whether we know you or not, we are here for you, as always. If there's questions that are arising amidst some of these things that may bring up things that could be good to talk through, please bring that to your therapist or to anybody that you trust. Or if you don't have anyone, please reach out to us. Connect at wisdompathways.life is how you can reach Jenny, Stephen, or myself. Please reach out. If you have questions that you're just curious, be like, oh, this could be a fun question to ask. We have in between each of our longer episodes, we have mini-sodes called Ask the Guides, where Jenny and Stephen channel and receive messages from their spirit guides to share with everyone. So please feel free to ask those questions. They can be anonymous. And as always, we love you very much. And don't forget, you do have a path forward. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you are leaving feeling more peace, clarity, and light as you navigate your journey forward. While there's no promotional purpose behind our podcast, we understand that things can arise that may be helpful to process or work through. Jenny and Stephen are co-founders of Wisdom Pathways, a sacred place of personal transformation. They offer soul mediumship, somatic healing, and spiritual resources for all walks of life. If you feel lost or stuck, are in transition, or awakening to something more, visit wisdompathways.life, or you can email any one of us at connect@wisdompathways.life. Tune in again this time next week if you'd like, and as always, share with a friend who might benefit as well. Peace and love.